Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's another wonderful day at the library, and today I am presenting to you Kids Art Lab. So, my name is Ms. Alex. I work for the St. Johns County Public Library System, and we are recording this live. So right now we're just allowing everybody to find the feed. We'll give everyone a couple of minutes to get together. We do have someone. Hello. Hi, yay! Okay, awesome. We've got people joining us. Hi, everybody. Feel free to say hello in the comments. If you want to put your name there, I'll say hello to you or to your kids directly. Hi! Hi, good afternoon. I'm just gonna go ahead and share this too. If you would like, you can share this stream so that everybody else can watch as well. If you have friends, family members who you think might be interested in this, please feel free to share the feed so that we can have a big group of people learning and creating together. Hello. My mom's watching. Hi. Who else is going to be joining us today? Oh man, I can't wait to tell you about the artist we're going to be learning about today. Yay! So neat. So neat. Does anybody remember who we did before? Has anybody already attended these art lab classes before? And who did you learn about? Let's see. Hello. Okay, I think everything's going well. Mason and Maddox. Hi. Hi, Mason and Maddox. Hello. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. Yay. Oh, good. So glad we've got people joining us. Okay. We are going to start this class right at 1:30, so we'll give everyone a couple of more minutes to find the feed. We are going to be playing around with watercolors today. So if you have watercolors, ta-da! You can grab those. If you don't, totally okay. You can do what we're doing with any kind of paint, or really any medium that you have at home already, whether that's markers, crayons, whatever you have, we can adapt it so that you can make the artwork that we're doing today. But if you want to try something new and try out what we're doing that's specifically inspired by our artists today, I highly recommend the watercolors. You'll also, of course, need some kind of paintbrush, a cup of water, and some paper towels. Plus some paper, but it's a little bit different today, so I'm going to wait and surprise you with that. But you will need some sort of paper. Let's see. Owen! Hello! Hi, Owen. Thanks for joining us today. Yay! Okay. As you can see, I am not, well, maybe you don't know, but I'm not at home today. For those of you who've gotten used to watching me doing my videos online, this is not my backyard. I'm at the library today. So it's good to be at my second home. How is everybody doing today? You having a good week so far? Let me know in the comments. Yay! Okay, who else is joining us today? Good, good, good. Have you guys tried any new art lately? Something maybe you haven't tried before? Have you tried watercolors? Have you been working with acrylic paints or finger painting? What kind of art have you guys been doing at home lately? Art is a really, really good thing to do when you're home and maybe you're bored or maybe you're upset about something. Art's a really nice way to kind of chill out, I think. Okay, it is officially 1:30, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. So thank you guys for tuning in. Oh, tie-dye. Oh, very cool, Brittany and Owen. That's awesome. Tie-dye's pretty messy, but it's pretty fun. Oh, which is your home library? Oh, your kiddo's favorite. Yay! My home library is the Southeast Library. So this is where I am almost all the time. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Aw, you guys are so sweet. We're going to go ahead and switch over to our presentation. Someone said my dogs make nose art on the window. I love it. Doggy nose prints. Okay, so the artist we're going to be learning about today is Wassily Kandinsky. Now I know that this name that's on the screen here starts with a W, but he is a Russian artist, so we say Wassily Kandinsky. And like we said before, if you were not here when we first went live, we are going to be using watercolor paints, ta-da, a paintbrush, a cup of water, and paper and scissors too. I almost forgot scissors, some way to cut your paper. All right, so this is a photo of Mr. Wassily Kandinsky. He was born in 1866 and he passed away in 1944. And something special about him, he was one of the founders of abstract art. We'll learn what that means in just a little while. So today we are traveling to Moscow, Russia. So you can see we are on the left-hand side of this map here in sunny Florida, unless you're watching from somewhere else. Is anybody watching from outside of Florida? And Wassily Kandinsky was born in Moscow, all the way over there in Russia. So across the Atlantic Ocean and across all of those European countries there into Russia. He did eventually move to Munich in Germany. And after some moves back and forth, he ended up moving to Paris, France. And that is where he stayed until the end of his life. So lots of traveling. Okay, Wassily was born on December 16th, 1866 to Lydia Tchiva and Wassily Kandinsky, his father, who was a tea merchant in Moscow. And he did very well selling tea. Wassily himself, learned how to play cello and piano when he was a child, and he also studied drawing, but it was not something that he pursued seriously as an adult because he went to law school. He practiced law. He was offered a professorship at a university, but instead, at 30 years old, he decided to abruptly change course and become an artist. Amazing. So this photo was taken around 1913. So he's a young, kind of a young man in this photo. Okay. Wassily moved to Munich, Germany to study art. He went to school there to learn it. While he was there, he helped to found a group called the New Artists Association because at this time, art was changing into something no one had ever seen before. He had to move back to Moscow during World War I, but he wasn't very successful as an artist there. His style was a little too out of the box. When he went back to Munich and was painting there, unfortunately during World War II, Nazis stole many of his paintings and many, many other artists, and he never got those back. Eventually, he did end up having to move to Paris. He was kind of exiled there and ended up staying there to the end of his life. Now, something very, very interesting about Wassily was he had this neurological, so that means a condition in his brain that was called synesthesia. Have you guys ever heard of that before? Let's see. Let me know in the comments if you have ever heard of synesthesia before. That means that instead of just seeing colors in front of him and hearing music, he could see music and hear colors. Isn't that amazing? I thought that was so cool when I was learning about it. Can you imagine being able to see music and to hear colors? It's kind of difficult for us to wrap our brains around, right? So amazing. So that had a huge effect on his art that I think you will see when we go over it. Okay. Now, a lot of the artists that we've talked about kind of have like one or two different mediums or kinds of material that they use for their artwork. But Wassily Kandinsky used a lot. He used oil paints, watercolors, tempera paint, wood, canvas, paper, sand, all sorts of different kinds of materials in his artwork. And we'll see some of those variations in the artwork that I've chosen to show you today. So excited. Okay, so I loved this quote from Wassily. Everything starts from a dot. So these huge masterpieces, or as he called them, compositions, amazing, amazing artwork, and all it does is start from one single dot. Okay, now, this is one of Wassily's very earliest artworks called The Blue Rider from 1903. It's oil on canvas, a little traditional. We look at it, we see what it is. There's a person on a horse. There's grass, rocks, trees, sky, clouds. But it was a nod to his inspiration from Claude Monet. Now, we did a class on Monet a couple of weeks ago. You can go on our YouTube channel or back on the videos of our Facebook page to look at that one. But Claude Monet was an impressionist. And this was Wassily's impression of this painting. So the paint strokes are not exactly perfect. They're kind of quick, bold movements. So this shows some of his transition, so how he changed from Impressionism to Expressionism. So Expressionism is very different. Expressionism, we're thinking on expressing our emotions onto the paper or onto the canvas or whatever we happen to be using. And this horse and rider, not these specifically, but the idea of a horse and a rider kind of show up in some of his other paintings throughout his life as well. Okay, Color Study Squares with Concentric Circles from 1913 is probably one of Wassily's most famous and most recognizable paintings. But what's funny about it is this was not one of his big compositions that he spent hours and hours and hours on. As it says in the title, this was really just a color study. He was seeing how different colors look when they're mixed together, when they're combined like this. Do they contrast? Are they similar? So even though this was just a study for a larger, more important piece, this somehow became one of his most famous pieces. So now what does concentric mean? Have you guys heard the word concentric before? That just means having a common center. So all of those circles in the painting, they all have the same center, even though there's circle, 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 circle. The center is the same for all of them. Okay, whoa, right? Yellow, red, blue, 1925. It's an oil on canvas. And what do you notice about the title? Yellow, red, blue. Is there something important about those colors, maybe? Yes, you got it. That's right. Those are the primary colors. So those show up in this painting in squares, circles, triangles. You can see those shapes pretty clearly when you start looking for them in the yellow, red, and blue. But then you look a little bit closer, and some of those colors end up mixing together on the right-hand side. When I was reading about this painting, one of the critics said that you can really take this one and split it in two. We've got the left-hand side and the right-hand side that are very, very different. Now, when you look at this painting, where does your eye go first? Mine goes to that circle, the black circle with the red circle around it on the left-hand side there. Because that whole side of the painting, it looks like a face to me. And then if you follow it up and around over to the right-hand side, it's kind of designed that way with those black lines and squiggles and shapes. So the way that it's composed or put together is meant to draw your eyes in a certain direction. Does it work for you? Do your eyes follow the shapes in that way too? Or do they go a different way? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, okay? Okay, Striped. Ooh, I really liked this painting. It was done in 1934, and it's oil paint with sand on canvas. Whoa, have you guys ever put sand into any of your artwork before? This one was painted after he was exiled from Munich and moved to Paris during World War II. Now, he wasn't very happy about that move. He had spent most of his adult life in Munich at that point, and Paris was new and different. So for this one, it seems a little bit sadder to me. There is a very calm base. We've got just those black and white stripes. Very bold, calm. And then on top of that, we have a contrast. So everything that's on top of it looks very different from what's in the background. Background is the black and white stripes, and the foreground is all of those interesting, colorful, kind of organic forms, which, kind of reminds me of sea creatures. Do you see them? Take a look at this painting a little bit closer and tell me if you can see them. I'm kind of thinking I see a seahorse, I see some fish, maybe some eels, sea stars, starfish, all sorts of different interesting things here. And Wassily added sand to those colorful forms. So he added, instead of just sticking with straight paint, he added some organic matter to his painting. Now, Wassily found artwork very, very spiritual, so that's interesting. So he wanted to combine something from the earth into his painting. What do you think about that? I really liked that. Oh, good. Oh, good, people. Okay, good. You guys are seeing the seahorse. Awesome. Yeah, the contrasting elements in this piece, they're very, very interesting. It's a very different background and foreground, right? Okay, this is the last painting I'm going to show you for today since our time is limited. This is Composition 9 that was painted in 1936. It was one of his last paintings that he completed. It's oil on canvas, and man, like, it hits you, right? It's really, really bright. And at this point, it only took him one practice sketch to be able to come up with this painting. His wife said that as he progressed in his painting and got further, closer to the end of his life with his painting, it would take him less and less practice sketches to do what he wanted to do in his compositions. So there's a very colorful diagonal stripe background. Reminds me of the striped piece from before, but instead of straight up and down, it's boop, diagonal and really, really bright. And then you've got some organic kind of geometric forms that almost seem to be floating somewhere above those stripes, right? If you look closely. And I see all sorts of different shapes here. Do you guys? I see squares, I see rectangles, I see circles. I see shapes that aren't even specific shapes, all sorts of different curvy organic forms there. And we've got in the very almost middle there, what does that remind you of? That big black form there. Kind of reminds me of a heart, to be honest. Oh, happy chaos. Oh, I like that. My mom said it reminds her of happy chaos. I like the way that sounds. And how interesting that he painted this as one of his last paintings. Nice. Yeah, I love that we all see different things in this painting and all of these different shapes. It's kind of up for interpretation, right? We can all look at the same painting and see something a little bit different. I love that fact with abstract art. It doesn't have to be one specific thing. It's really up to whoever is looking at it. Up to your eye, right? Oh, good. So some people see a flower, a heart. Cool. It's definitely worth going back and looking at some of his other paintings and see what you think of those. There's so many interesting ones that we just don't have time to go through. Okay. The last quote from Wassily Kandinsky I'm going to share with you today is there is no must in art because art is free. So remember that when you're doing your painting or whatever art form that you prefer to do, there is no must. There's no correct way to do something or to make something look. Art is free. It's up for interpretation. It's up to you, what you want it to look like. There's no right. There's no wrong. There's just free. Okay, we have this really cool book for kids about Wassily Kandinsky at the library, and it's called The Noisy Paint Box. It's the colors and sounds of Kandinsky's abstract art, and it talks a little bit more about that neurological condition he had called synesthesia. So I highly recommend checking that out. The illustrations are beautiful. You can also get more information on Wassily Kandinsky in one of our kids' databases, Gale in Context Elementary, formerly known as Kids Info Bits. You can go there and get magazine articles on him, biographies, pictures, all sorts of cool information there from our website. All you need is your library card. And for those of you watching and participating in our online summer reading program, Read Squared, if you haven't checked it out yet, please go to our website. You'll be able to find the code to get you extra points in the comments. Okay, let's make some art, guys. We are going to be recreating his color study using concentric circles today. And I'm going to give you kind of a different way to recreate it. Are you guys up for it? I'm going to go ahead and we're going to switch over what this is going to look like, okay? So that you can really be able to see. Okay, are you ready, guys? Get this all set up so that you can easily see what I'm working on. Okay. Wonderful. All right. Can you guys see that now? Can you see my paintbrush? I hope so. Okay. Let's go ahead and, whoops, wrong way. Get started here. All right. Let's see. Okay. Now we should have it set, I think. Sorry about that. First time using this. We are going to use our brush and our watercolors and some water. And I took my paper and I cut it into squares. So instead of taking one piece of paper and turning it into a grid, we're taking our squares and doing our circles on the squares themselves, okay? I did a couple to get started, so I can show you. And this is really for us to see how color combinations work together, okay? I think one of mine flew off, so I'm going to grab that real quick. That's okay. Ta-da! All right. So if you're going to go ahead and do this with me, you can start cutting up your paper, or you can do it on one piece of paper, or you can wait to do it a little bit later. But when I am doing watercolors with my kids, I notice it's easier for them if I take a spray bottle filled with just water and spray it all over the palette so that they don't have to keep dipping their brush into the water and making each one wet to begin with. So when you're working with watercolors, if they are dry, you'll want to add some water to each one. So I'm just going to go one by one by one as I go along. I'm going to make a little circle right here in the center of my square. And the trick with watercolors is if you want them to be more pigmented, so that means have more color, more bright color, you just use less water. If you want them to be lighter or more see-through, use more water. I'm going to go ahead and do something that's really contrasting with that blue and add some orange this time. So you can do your circles touching, or you can leave some space, some white space in between. If you go back and look at Kandinsky's color study, his circles are definitely not perfectly round. Some of them are bigger on one side, some of them are a little bit oblong, they're all over the place. So don't focus on getting your circles all perfect for this one. I'm going to have a little bit more white space on that side than on this side. I'm going to wet my brush, get all the color off of that. Okay, and then pick up another color. I'm going to use this kind of blue-green color next. Now notice, for this one, I'm not going to leave a space. I'm going to go right there next to my orange. And you might notice when you're doing your painting with watercolors that your colors start to bleed. Since it is water-based, if something is still wet next to it, it might mix together a little bit. And that is totally okay. That is up to each individual artist if you want that to happen. Sometimes the colors combine, you get some interesting effects. I really like the way that it looks when they bleed together some. But if you don't like that, if you want to keep that from happening, you could do the circle and then a bigger circle and give it some time to dry before you go to the next one so that they don't bleed. Okay. Next, I think I'm gonna do, this like pretty magenta color. So if you want it to be a thin line, you can use just the tip of your brush. If you want it to be a thick line, you can press down and use the full brush to go around. It'll take up more space that way. Have you guys done watercolors before? I just started taking some watercolor classes and I really, really like them. Oh, there we go. Okay, so someone asked, are the squares going to be put together to make one piece? Ding, 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 you got it. Yep. So we're gonna put the squares together. And if you would like, you can glue them down, you can tape them down. But I liked the idea of doing it this way so that you could arrange the squares however you like and really think about the composition or how it's put together before you kind of make it final, you know? And if you use tape, you could even go back and change it around if you want to. Okay, I've got all of my circles done. Now I'm going to fill in the background. In some of Kandinsky's artwork, he had one color for the background. So like this one, he's got red as that whole background. But others, he would have one color on one side and another color on the other. So I thought that was very, very interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this kind of light yellow I've got and use that as the background on this side. One here, another corner over here. Now, what are you guys planning to use at home? Do you have watercolors that you'd like to use for this, or are you going to use a different kind of medium? Because you can do the same thing with whatever you happen to have at home. You could use acrylic paint, tempera paint, you use markers, even crayons to create this. One other idea I saw was to cut all of these shapes out of construction paper, colored construction paper, and then layer them together and glue them down onto a piece of paper. So that might be another fun way to create the same kind of effect. Okay. Now I think that is it for today. So once you're done doing all of your squares, Kandinsky had 12 squares in his. You can start thinking about how you want to put them together. Maybe you want similar colors to be together, or maybe you want them to be separate. It is totally up to you. These three have some white space on them, so I think I may move some around here. But I've definitely got to make some more squares to fill mine in. What do you think? Do you want to try doing Wassily's color study at home? If you do, try it out. Please, please, please take some pictures if you do it later this afternoon or even another day. Take some pictures and send them to the library. We would love to see what you guys are working on at home and if Wassily Kandinsky inspired you to make some new art. Okay, guys? Well, it was so fun creating with you and learning about Wassily Kandinsky together. I hope you all have a great day and know that I miss you so much. Can't wait to see you guys again. All right.